we have to be okay hearing the word no and disassociating our self-worth from that no. And secondly, we also have to fall in love with our marketing and sales process, because if you don't like it, you're not gonna do it.
This is Insight, Scaling Lessons from the Street. In this series, we mastermind a set of topics plaguing women entrepreneurs on a mighty growth path, such as mindset, business modeling, sales, marketing, finance, and legal. Whether you're looking for world domination or to work less while being more profitable, you'll find learnings in here from women who know the journey and fight in the trenches every day. Insight is co-hosted by Andrea Henry, Megan O'Neill, Shelagh Cummins, Susan Diaz, and Wendy Brookhouse.
Welcome back to Insight. Thank you for choosing to listen to us today. On Insight, we are going to share scaling lessons from the street. We're going to tell you the goods. My name is Shelagh Cummins, and I run Cummins & Company, which is a coaching and consulting company dedicated to helping women entrepreneurs just like you launch, grow, and scale their business. Today, we're going to be talking about the word no. More specifically, we're going to be talking about how we avoid hearing the word no and the impact that it has and has had on our business. One of the things that I noticed with my clients and women in my programs in particular, and I don't know, ladies, if you find this in your business, but some women go to great lengths to not hear the word no. And so they will do things like not do the marketing that's needed, not put themselves out there. They'll hide what it is that they sell. They won't make offers. They'll undercharge so that it makes it easy for people to say yes, and then they don't understand why they have clients that they don't really love, who aren't really appreciative of what it is that they do. And so one of the things that I believe in to my core, actually there's two things. One of them is we have to be okay hearing the word no and disassociating our self-worth from that no. And secondly, we also have to fall in love with our marketing and sales process, because if you don't like it, you're not gonna do it. And so first, let's talk about the word no. What has it meant to you in the past is my first question. And then the piggyback to that is, how did you get okay hearing the word no when you made an offer in your business?
I'll jump in first. I don't know why, because I always think of Oprah Winfrey when the word no comes up, and I don't know if you ever heard what she says. She said, no is a complete sentence. So when you first brought up the topic, part of me thought, oh, we're going to talk about us saying no, but because I have had to practice that a lot.
Yes.
However, but also thinking about hearing no. And I'm going to tell you right now, I would rather hear no 500 times more than I would hear maybe.
Mm-hmm.
Because maybe means I have to keep following up. It's still a possibility, whether it is or not. I'm still kind of obligated at some level to keep track and seeing if I can bring you into the fold, versus no, okay, let's move on.
Right. And I think, that's so poignant what you say, Wendy, because I think a lot of people hide from the follow-up.
Mm.
And we all know the money's in the follow-up. People are busy. They forget that they're supposed to let us know what they want to do. But then we sit here behind the scenes, twiddling our thumbs going, oh gosh, I wonder if they're going to come in. I gotta, if I don't reach out, maybe they'll come, maybe they're busy. I don't want to interfere. I don't want to get in their face, when really we have to get clear, because as long as you don't have that yes, and people are at the silence or the maybe phase, you're holding space for the unknown. And if you're holding space for someone who's a maybe, that's going to prevent you from holding the space from the person who's a yes. Totally. What else? How about some of you, Susan or Andrea or Megan? Megan, what do you see?
Well, it's funny that you should talk about no, because I was just on my phone saying no to my teen who was asking for money. So I was just saying no, but I have had years and years of no's. I mean, I've gotten used to no's. I've been doing this for almost 20 years. And one of the greatest things that I ever learned from one of my mentors was that it was just really simply information about the other person when they said no. It wasn't about me. Mm-hmm. It was about the other person. And because, my work is around self-development, there's timing. People have timing for everything. This might not be the right time. And so I learned not to take it as personally as I did when I was younger. And I think that's age too. As you age and you have experience, then you learn that no is not a personal thing.
Yeah. It's not a personal thing. And, I know that I've been heavily coached to be A-okay with removing the no from being, they don't like me, they don't see any value what I'm doing, I'm just a fraud. Because sometimes when you get that no, it opens up this whole can of self-doubt and negative self-talk. And then that on its own can lead you down a spiral of then going to find evidence that you suck and you're no good. And we all know, and we've talked about it on the podcast before, that whatever it is that we're thinking, we can find evidence to support it. And so disassociating from the results. And one of the things I'm working on with one of my momentum groups is a couple of them are doing online launches, and I'm in a launch right now as well, is completely disassociating myself from the results. The results have no impact in who I am as a person. They are simply a reflection of my marketing and sales and numbers. That's it.
Exactly, Sheila. I mean, I couldn't put it better. That is exactly it.
You could. You do. What about you, Susan and Andrea? How do you handle the no's?
I think I've gotten better at it over the years. In the beginning, I was certainly quite petulant about receiving no's. Certainly did question what went wrong a whole lot. Not necessarily always self-worth. I guess it depended a little bit on the value of the deal, about whether I would actually question my self-worth or no. But over the years, maybe this sounds arrogant, I don't get told no a lot. And I'll tell you why that is because I don't put myself into that position where I make an offer unless I'm definitely getting the vibes, if you know what I mean. If I can take you back to a dating scenario, one of my zones of genius is I can sense the need for someone to have a conversation. And when I'm in that conversation, we usually get a reasonably decent level of yes. The rest of them ghost us, which is my bigger pet peeve than receiving, like Wendy said, receiving a no to me is like, cool, okay. Yeah. Either what can I do about it? Why is it not a yes? And how can I make it a yes in some cases? And in other cases, it's fine. But I think honestly, the thing that bothers me a bit more is not hearing or not knowing.
Well, I think the ghosting is sort of the Canadian no. If people think they're doing you a favor by going quiet and just not responding. Whereas, I often will go quiet just because I'm thinking things through. I'm someone who takes a while to make decisions. And if we're not following up and that person doesn't follow up, I will most likely forget that they're waiting to hear from me. And it astounds me how many times, someone's pitched me something and I've been like, listen, I'm a slow decision maker. I've said that, that's just who I am. And I said, okay, well, I need to go and sleep on it. And then I never hear from them again. Well, I guess you don't really want my business. Whereas they were probably assuming that my silence was a no. It wasn't. It was just me thinking and then getting sidetracked by something else.
Yeah, Sheila, I agree with that in terms of understanding people's decision processes. And some people can make decisions really quickly. They've been people that I followed for years before I bought from them. So I think understanding that even for myself, sometimes it takes a while to get to a yes, makes it easier to deal with the no. The second thing is I always think I learn more from no's than yeses in general. And the third thing is somewhat self-involved, where I kind of feel like this is really an excellent service. You are doing yourself disservice not to say yes. Like I have my contracts in place, right?
Yeah,
so, I think if you really believe in the value of what it is that you're doing, then you kind of feel bad for the person that they haven't been able to take advantage of it, and they're not going to have it in their business or their life. But yeah, I try not to take it as a personal effect.
I do the same thing when, especially if it's someone I really want to work with. Yeah. When I get the quiet or the no, or they're like, not yet. I think we have two choices. One, we can buy the no, which is something I'd like to sort of lead us into. But then the other thing is, that parallel thought of, well, too bad. And what I know for me is there's a lot of people, I've been at this a long time now, people who said no 2 to 3 years ago will come back and then they'll be like, all right, I should have just said yes 2 years ago because I'm in the exact same spot as I was then.
Yeah.
What about this whole idea that we have to coach people through the no? As the business owner, when you're making an offer, you're in the middle of the sales conversation, someone says no, do you just stop and accept it? Or do you coach them through the no? How do you handle it?
Wendy here. Sometimes I dig in a little bit because if I've done my discovery, I might know why the no is and work through it. But sometimes I feel like we don't always appreciate. Some people need a lot of information to make a decision. Mm-hmm. So sometimes I'm probing into what other information can I provide you for you to make this decision. So understanding that, I know that on a scale of 1 to 10, I've actually had this done. I'm a 4 out of 10. I only need to know I don't need to know nearly as much information as I have some clients who are in the 8 or 9 range. Those are the people I am giving them every piece of detail that I possibly can because they need that. They will not make that decision, or if they will, it won't be in alignment with themselves if they haven't done that work. So by understanding where they are in that and giving them the space to consume that information, then follow up has made a big difference.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's important, is really understanding who your buyer is and how they react. I think different personalities react to offers different ways. And when we initially take that no and just shut down and be like, all right, well, see you later, then I think there's a lost opportunity in that. Whereas when we sort of take the no as let's do a little bit more digging, some questions that I like to pull out when people are like, no, not yet. I need to think about it, or I want to wait 6 months, is I'll probably say something like, if we were to remove your current time and money from the equation, what would your answer be? Because sometimes people will jump to a no and they'll say, well, I can't afford it. And we've all done that to get out of situations when we all could have afforded it. Because I actually really want to know what's standing in their way. And 9 times out of 10, they actually don't believe that they are worthy of the investment. And when we are working with women, and particularly women who are mothers, we are having to fight for $1 that they may otherwise put into their children. And women have no problem buying their children $100 shoes, but they have a big problem investing $100 in themselves. And so part of what I think I'm hearing is we've got to be more savvy about who the person is on the other phone and what it is that they need. And if we give them the space to be able to articulate what that barrier is to them saying yes, I think more information will come out. I think that's great.
Yeah, I think for me, there's a couple of things that's helped. One of them is asking the question why, if the person didn't say why. More often than not, they're willing to tell you why, if they were the one that said no. But then back to your point about, following up. I don't think we put enough of a store on that. I don't think that we put, like, the few times that I've put a real effort into being like, this is my follow-up framework, and then I will try to do the following 3 things before I call this done. More often than not, you'll get 1 extra out of that. Yeah. And I think there's value to it.
Yeah, I agree. We can't hide from the follow-up. What are some things that you do now in your business that you used to not do because you were afraid of the no?
I think that I would hold back on what I charge. So talking about my prices was something that I held back, and I've learned to change that mindset. But I think I really held back because of my own money story, that I was afraid that people would say no because of how much I was going to cost. So that's something that I have switched and said.
What's your new mindset then?
Well, I understand that I'm worth it more. So that was once again working on that worth part, and saying, I'm going to tell you how much it is. Just hold on. Like I give them I tell them I'm not hiding the price. I'm going to get to the price, but this is what we need to talk about first. So I've changed the way I approach it, and really had to really work on that discomfort, I think, or that belief that I had that people were automatically going to say no as soon as I said my price.
Mm-hmm.
So that was the shift I had to work on.
Mm-hmm. And so is the shift then when you are at that moment in the conversation where you're laying down how much it is, how do you handle that moment? What are you saying on an internal level?
I think I've just had so many experiences now that I understand how the conversation is going to go. And I understand that most of the time, to be honest, when people are on a phone call with me, just the fact that they're on the phone call with me indicates that they're really interested in working with me. So it's just a matter of giving them the information, as Wendy was saying. People need to have information. They need to understand. I need to pace my conversation and understand what the person is there for and how can I serve them. And maybe I can't serve them. Maybe we're not aligned. Maybe we're not meant to work together.
If I could drop in for 2 seconds here, I also find that before I will talk price, I actually want to understand all the pain. And then and then I talk about what I'm going to do to solve the pain. And then I put the price tag on it versus here's the price. Now what are we going to do?
So that's the whole structure of your sales conversation goes through understanding what challenge there is, and then you present your solution. And yes, there's a price to it. One of the things that I've had to do is remove all emotion from the price, because often what I see women do is that when they say the number, everything comes up of, oh my gosh, this is a lot of money, or nobody's going to pay this, or all the judgment that we have about whatever that price is. And I have learned over the years that it's just a set of numbers. It is a set of numbers that is the entryway into working with me. And you either want to work with me or you don't. And it's irrelevant. It has nothing to do with whether you like me or whether I'm a good person. That's all there is. Andrea, have you had to make that kind of shift?
Yeah, not so much around price, but what Megan was saying about boundaries really resonated, because for a long time there was a lot of fear around if I enforced boundaries and if I wasn't available all the time to do all the things, clients would say no to working with me. And so that was a difficult shift, especially with long-time clients, and especially with clients where significant pieces of work. And I think for me, the shift was really in understanding who my ideal client was and coming from a place of abundance as opposed to scarcity. And so understanding that, if someone said no to working with me because I had enforced a boundary and I wasn't going to meet with them on Saturday afternoon, that's okay. That's space for the clients that I want to work with, who value their weekends with their family and who don't want to meet with me then. And since that shift, I've worked increasingly with my ideal client. So the price piece used to be, but that was a quicker shift because it was just a matter of, I don't like having to work this much and not having enough money for it. So, and in fact, the other day was funny. I was on a call with a potential client, and we'd gone through all the pain points, and we talked about, how I could help. And she said, "Okay, so what are the next steps? How do we get started?" Because I guess I should be asking about what documents do you need to see from me? I said, "No, what you should be asking about is the price." And I laughed, and we all had a laugh about it. But I just kind of reflected on how far I'd come. I would not have been able to have that conversation with such levity, a year and a half, 2 years ago.
That's amazing.
No, I wanted to say a quick little thing to that point that Andrea was making about attracting the right type of client. And sometimes I feel like it sounds flippant when I make this as a statement, but I think really defining and being clear about your brand voice and who you're targeting really can do a lot for you from that perspective. So sometimes I feel like we make things a little overly obnoxious or extra, shall we say, out there, because you know that the person that you attract with that is really coming to it because there's something more to the whole offer than just a price or a value or a delivery of something that someone can get pretty much everywhere. So I'm a fan of that point you're making, Andrea. Cool.
Yeah. So if we were to take the learnings from this one, if I pulled together all the lessons from the street, here's what I'm hearing. Number one, no is a normal part of your business. If you're not hearing no, it means you're not making enough offers. It also might mean that your price is too low if too many people are saying yes, and you're going to get way too busy, way too fast. The no does not have any impact on who you are as a person. It just means you were talking to the wrong person who's not quite ready to make that decision at that moment. And also, you don't have to buy the no. You can absolutely coach people through the buying decision and help support them. And I think my biggest takeaway is that whole adage that your money is in the follow-up. And if you're not following up, then you're leaving money on the table because you are protecting yourself from getting the solid no. And we do not have space to hold space to people. We do not have space to hold space for people who are sitting on the fence. And so I encourage everybody, if you've got people that are around you, prospects who you've spoken to but haven't quite committed, send them the famous 9-word email. Hey, so-and-so, are you still interested in solving problem, solve problem with me, ? Love, insert your name. And then just get a solid answer of yes or no so that you can move on. Thank you so much for listening. We look forward to connecting with you next week.
Thank you for listening to Insight. If you enjoyed listening, do us a solid and leave us a review. It helps keep us motivated to put our time into producing episodes of value. Thank you.